Let's talk about Dr. Charles R. Drew. He's a true giant of medicine, and his work impacts millions of us even today. Now, you've probably heard him called the father of the modern blood bank, and that's true. But you know what? That title doesn't even begin to tell his whole incredible story.
I mean, just think about it. It's World War II, the entire world is tearing itself apart, and right in the middle of all that chaos, Dr. Drew develops a system that literally puts people back together. His work in preserving blood was nothing short of a medical miracle on the battlefield, and it completely changed emergency medicine forever. And this is where the story gets so complicated and, honestly, so tragic. The very system he designed, this amazing engine for saving lives, was twisted by prejudice. It was used to enforce racial segregation, a policy aimed squarely at him and every other African American.
So that's the real question we're diving into today. How did one man manage to push medicine into the future while also having to fight this deeply personal battle for the soul of his own country? It's a story of brilliant science colliding head-on with systemic racism.
Okay, so to really grasp just how huge his achievement was, we have to go back to the beginning of World War II. The world was facing this massive medical crisis, and frankly, the tools they had just weren't going to cut it.
You can see the problem right here. What they had was whole blood, but it goes bad in about a week. Even worse, you have to perfectly match the blood type. Now, imagine trying to do that in the chaos of a battlefield. It's just not practical. What they desperately needed was something that would last, could be shipped anywhere, and could be given to anyone in an emergency. And this is where Dr. Drew comes in. He was at Columbia University, working on his doctorate, and he decided to tackle this exact problem. And let me tell you, his solution changed absolutely everything.
Drew's research zeroed in on plasma. That's the liquid part of blood. He figured out that if you just separate it from the red blood cells, the things that determine your blood type, you're left with this kind of universal lifesaver. It meant any patient could receive it, which got rid of the need for time-consuming blood typing in an emergency.
And this is where you see his true logistical genius. It wasn't just a scientific idea. He created a whole process. He perfected freeze-drying the plasma, a technique called lyophilization, which turned it into a stable powder. A powder. You could ship it across the world, and a medic could just add sterile water on the spot. He basically turned blood into a reliable industrial medical supply.
And just look at the numbers here. The shelf life shot up from just 1 week for whole blood to as long as 2 months for his dried plasma. This wasn't just an improvement, it was a total revolution. It's what made large-scale blood banking possible for the very first time.
This groundbreaking research, all laid out in his thesis, Banked Blood, earned him his doctorate. And get this, he became the very first African American to earn that specific medical degree from Columbia University. He was literally writing the textbook on a new field of medicine while also breaking down huge racial barriers in the academic world.
So, with war raging in Europe, Dr. Drew's breakthrough went from the lab straight to the front lines. This was the moment of his greatest professional triumph, but it also set the stage for his most painful fight.
The first big test was a project called Blood for Britain. While bombs were falling on London during the Blitz, Drew was organizing the shipment of over 5,000 liters of plasma from the US. It was a massive success, and it proved his system could work under the most extreme pressure imaginable.
After that success, he was the obvious choice to lead America's own national program. He was named Assistant Director of the American Red Cross's first national blood bank. Think about it. The man with the solution was now in charge of rolling it out across the entire country. This was the pinnacle.
And then the system he built was corrupted from within. Citing the prejudice of white soldiers, the U.S. military ordered a policy of racial segregation. At first, they refused to accept blood from black donors at all. Later, they changed the rule. They would accept it, but it had to be stored separately.
So now you have Dr. Drew, the world's leading expert on this subject, facing a terrible choice. Does he quietly accept this demeaning, unscientific policy, or does he fight back?
His first line of attack was pure science. He stated plainly and publicly that there is no scientific difference whatsoever in the blood of different races. Plasma is plasma. He called out the policy for what it was, social prejudice hiding behind a mask of medical concern. And he did not mince words. He publicly called the policy a grievous mistake and a stupid error. He said its only purpose was to willfully humiliate African American citizens who were ready and willing to help the war effort. And when the organization refused to listen to science and reason, he took the ultimate stand.
In 1942, he resigned. He walked away from the most prestigious job of his career because he refused to attach his name to a system that chose prejudice over science.
But leaving the Red Cross didn't mean his fight was over. Not by a long shot. He just changed his tactics. He decided to dedicate the rest of his life to building a legacy of excellence that would help tear down those very same barriers he ran into.
He returned to Howard University and became the chief of surgery, and he poured all his energy into mentoring. His new mission was clear. He would train a generation of black surgeons to be so skilled, so excellent, so undeniably brilliant that the racist medical system would have no choice but to recognize them.
Now we have to talk about the story surrounding his tragic death. He died in a car accident in 1950, and for decades, a powerful myth has persisted that Dr. Drew, the father of the blood bank, bled to death because a whites-only hospital refused to give him a transfusion. But the historical record and the eyewitnesses who were there are very clear. That is not true. He received immediate medical care. His injuries were just too catastrophic to survive.
So the question is, why did that false story stick around for so long? Why does it feel so believable to so many people, even today?
Well, the myth endures because even though it's not what happened to him specifically, it tells a much larger symbolic truth. In the era of Jim Crow, Black Americans were routinely denied medical care. They did die because of racism in hospitals. So in a way, the myth became a parable for the exact injustice Dr. Drew dedicated his entire career to fighting.
And that's really what his life leaves us with. Dr. Drew's story is this powerful reminder that medical progress isn't just about discoveries in a lab. It forces us to ask ourselves, what is our responsibility to make sure that scientific breakthroughs actually serve all of humanity? And how do we build systems that are as just and as sound as the science they're built on?